So, my general theme that Maharaj gave was tasting the sweetness of the holy name. And within that theme, he wanted us to choose a sub-theme. So my sub-theme was advancing Mahaprabhu's sacred mission. So that's the topic, the general topic, but everything is related to the holy name, so we're discussing the holy name. Om Jnanam Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahmayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Padam Bhoja Madhupebhyo Namo Namaha Kathanchid Arshayad Yesham Swapi Tad Gandha Bhag Bhavet. Let me repeatedly offer my respectful obeisances unto the bee-like devotees who always taste the honey of the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If even a doggish non-devotee somehow takes shelter of such devotees, he enjoys the aroma of the lotus flower. This is written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Such a nice verse. This is kind of our merged session with the adults and the youth. It's that session. So I'll maybe be asking some questions also as we go along. So who remembers when does a dog get the aroma of Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet in the Chaitanya Charitamrita? There's one particular pastime, one particular devotee where they remember that. For the youth here. Yes, I'm asking this group here. Yes. Anyone remember? When in the Chaitanya Charitamrita does a dog receive the mercy of Lord Chaitanya? Yes, the adults know. So it's the story of Shivananda Sena and the dog, where this dog becomes very dear to Shivananda Sena. They're on pilgrimage, and this dog goes along with Shivananda Sena. And Shivananda Sena, who's one of the intimate devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he thinks this dog is just one of the members of the party, right? He's one of the pilgrims. And so he starts to take care of the dog like all the other pilgrims. So like everyone sits down in rows to take prasadam. So at the end, there's one seat and kind of a plate for the dog. And like this, they were going on the yatra. And at a certain point, the pilgrimage had to take a boat across the river to the other side. Navadvip, it's 9 islands. So somewhere they came across a river. And so the boatman wouldn't let animals go on the boat. There's the policy, no animals, right? Just like in airplanes, they don't allow the animals unless they're in a cage, and that system was not there, right? So he shoos the dog off. And the devotees get to the other side, and when they arrive to the camp where they're going to take rest, they arrive without the dog. And so Shivananda Sena becomes very concerned. Where's the dog? You didn't bring him along with you? He was one of your pilgrims, fellow pilgrims. The devotee said, we didn't realize that was part of our service. And so he sends some devotees, a group of devotees back. He says, go and search out that dog. He's one of our members. He's official member of the temple, life member. And so he goes back, they go back and they search for him everywhere, and they can't find the dog. They've lost the dog. And so they come back empty-handed. After that, Shivananda Sena, the next day he fasts. He fasts all day because he thinks that he's the leader of the troop. So anything wrong, is reflected on the leader. And he takes that kind of responsibility, that it must be something in my mismanagement, my consciousness that led to this. So he fasts the whole day because he could not find that puppy that was coming along with them. And then when they reach Lord Chaitanya, then where do they see the dog? He's not exactly at the lotus feet, but near the lotus feet. What is he doing? There's a little hint here on the side of the picture. Yes, the Lord is throwing him coconut, and he's jumping in the air and grabbing that coconut. And as he's doing that, he's shouting out the holy name. He's as the dogs would chant the holy name. And then after that, in front of their eyes, the dog dies, and he goes back to the spiritual world. They see, Shivananda Sena sees this dog being uplifted, going back to the spiritual world. So what's the lesson in this story? What's the great meaning or the lesson in this story? Nandu, what's the lesson in this story? I'm calling on you. Nandu. Actually, it's kind of hard to see in all directions. Do you guys mind sitting here? It's hard to see. Nandu, so I say, what's the meaning of this story, the dog story? The Shivananda Sena. No. Okay, someone from this side. The girls, help them out. That's why, they say that. Even a dog can receive the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Wonderful. That's one of the very important story and we see this later on as we go through that. Everyone is a recipient of Lord Chaitanya's mercy, even a dog. So that's spot on. But one. Okay, guys, help the girls. Someone must know this. Or just think it through. It's a very fortunate situation to become the dog of a devotee. Right? Our aspiration is to become the dog of a devotee. Because if we become the devotee's dog, and somehow we become dear to them, then others, the yogis, have to work so hard. They have to go to the forest and meditate for thousands of years. The jnanis have to read so many books. Who would like to read so many books, right? And the devotees have to wake up early in the morning. We don't have to, but yeah, it's just a lot of work, right? But if we become a dog of a devotee, we just get the causeless mercy, and we go back home, back to Godhead. So this is a beautiful verse that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has written. This is just a little kind of a side point introduction. So the different parts of our presentation, which I don't think we'll get through, is the first one is Mahaprabhu's sacred mission. We'll look at what is his mission. The second is Mahaprabhu's legacy. The third is his order. Fourth is attempting to fulfill the order. And finally, the price we must pay to taste the holy name. So these are just some pointers, things to think about. So the first one, Mahaprabhu's sacred mission. We actually sang the song in relation to that. And because his disappearance day is tomorrow, I thought to focus, try to appreciate Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's words. So he has this very nice article by the name of Jiver Daya, which means mercy to the living entities, which was published in Sajjan Toshani, volume 4, issue 8 in 1893. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is one of the most prolific writers in our movement. And he wrote this article, which is very, you could say, it goes very well with the bhajan that we sung, but it's very, very much like a mission statement almost. So he says, Jiver Daya, mercy to living entities, is one of the main constituents of Vaishnava Dharma. It is the inherent nature of a Vaishnava to be kind to the jivas. When this nature is not detected, one cannot become a Vaishnava, even if one has thousands upon thousands of other external symptoms. Right? So he's saying that the primary, one of the most important nature or quality of a devotee is Jiv Daya. And all the other qualities are Tatashta. This is the Swarup Lakshana. That a devotee must have this quality of being compassionate to others. So he then mentions, so this is the continuation of that paragraph. I just broke it up in slides. So it doesn't end here. He says, so this is this is the most important, even if the devotee has thousands of other symptoms, this is the most important one. Then he says, Jiva Daya, Nama Ruchi, Vaishnav Seva, which means three things: compassion to the jivas, taste for the holy name, and service to the Vaishnavas, is the only teaching that Sri Satchidananda, Lord Chaitanya, has propagated everywhere. Right? So, if someone asked us, what is the core of our tradition, right? If a TV reporter comes to you and says, in one sentence, say, what are you about? So we can say these three things: Jiv Doya, Namaruchi, Vaishnav Seva. This is the essence of Lord Chaitanya's teaching. We are known as Gaudiya Vaishnavas. We are the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He says, compassion to the jivas, taste for the holy name, and service to Vaishnavas. This constitutes the essence of all religion. So in the bhajan that we sang, he says, Jiv Doya Krishnanam Sarva Dharma Sar, means that is the essence of all religion. Here he adds a third one, which is service to the Vaishnavas, which is, as we'll discuss more, it's really non-different. These are three, but really they are one. They are all part of what does Lord Chaitanya say is our highest destination. What's the highest thing a person can attain in this world? What's the highest objective? Just like in different religions, there's something that matters most. Scholars of religion, they call this what matters most, WMM, what matters most. So for followers of Shankaracharya, knowledge matters most. It's all about jnana, right knowledge. If you get right knowledge, you attain self-realization. Similarly, in Christianity, what matters most? Freedom from what? Freedom from sin, yes. And for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, what matters most? Huh? I can't hear. Liberation. Is that the case? A good suggestion. But we have various alvars like King Kulashekar who say, let me come here birth after birth. Birth after birth, let me be born in this material world. But I only want one thing, they say. Huh? Prema Bhakti, yes. Lord Chaitanya says, Prema Pumartha Mahan. The highest goal, the highest destination is Prema. Prema Pumartha Mahan. So therefore, even if there is something else to attain, Lord Chaitanya says, we're not interested in it. If you want Prema, if you want love, then we have it all. I mean, we have the path. Everything is known. If you want Prema, then Prema Pumartha Mahan. This is the highest truth, the highest goal, and this is what we provide. But but if you want something else, then maybe this is the right place for you. But the thing that we all want, that we all recognize, is that we are all searching for love, right? Elon Musk, the richest person in the world, is searching for love. Einstein is also searching for love. They may not agree, they may deny it, but everyone needs loving relationships. So that is what the soul is searching for. And if that's what we're searching for, then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, this is the path to the highest prema. Prema Pumartha Mahan. That's the highest benediction, the highest goal anyone can attain in this world. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur goes on. So these three things are part of Krishna Prema. They're just three different aspects of Krishna Prema. When a person has taste for the holy name, then they get love for Krishna. Taste for the holy name means love for Krishna. When that love for Krishna is there, the taste for the holy name is there, then we want to serve those who have that taste. We make friendship with those who have that taste. That's Vaishnav Seva. And when that taste and love is there and that friendship is there, then we want to share it with others. We want to share that same love with others. When we want to do that, that's compassion to the jivas. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur goes on to say, the Vaishnava's mercy to the jivas resides deep within the mind of a Vaishnava. And the significance of this instruction of Mahaprabhu can only be understood by knowing its external indications. Thus, these external indications must be cultivated by us. So he's saying that this feeling of compassion to the jivas resides deep in the heart of the Vaishnava, but it can be known by the external manifestations. So how do we know that this devotee has this quality of compassion? He says, well, you can't read their mind, so we know it by their activities. And this is why, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said that he gave, a way of how to know a great Vaishnava that seems very mechanical. And in one sense it is, but this is what he's referring to, that this is the external manifestation. That was, you know a devotee, the greatness of a devotee by the number of temples they open, by the number of devotees they make, and by the number of books they distribute, right? So it's one way of measuring, not doesn't have to be the only absolute way. But why? Because if their mercy is so strong, if their desire, if their compassion for the jivas is so strong, it will manifest in these ways and other ways. Right? The phrase Jiver Doya, Bhaktivinoda Thakur continues, must be understood only in relation to the Baddha Jivas, conditioned living beings. Now this was very interesting for me. Furthermore, among the Baddha Jivas, those who have attained an inclination towards Krishna are not objects of our mercy and should be treated as friends. Therefore, among the Baddha Jivas, those who are foolish or ignorant are to be shown mercy. So, very interesting point, that what he's saying is that when we show friendship and love and care towards Vaishnavas, then that's Vaishnav Seva. That's not Jiv Doya. That's caring for the devotees. That's Vaishnav Seva, which is a very important part, if not one of the most important parts of our mission, of our tradition, of our teaching, Lord Chaitanya's teaching. But when we are exercising Jiva Doya, it means to people who don't have Krishna's mercy. Right? You cannot say that I'm practicing Jiva Doya with Rahel, right? No, he's already a devotee. Someone who doesn't know Krishna, right? Or someone who doesn't have that inclination to Krishna, that we must exercise. To the devotees, if we are with them, then we should think, no, I'm serving the devotee. I'm not showing compassion to a devotee, but I'm serving the devotee if I'm helping them. So very interesting but subtle difference and change, right? That with Vaishnavas, it's always service. We really can't show compassion to Vaishnavas because we see them as objects of service. But then Jiva Daya must be practiced. That means that's to those who have forgotten their inclination towards Krishna. They are to be shown mercy. So, pointing, every devotee must participate in that. In all three things, in the chanting of the holy name, in serving the Vaishnavas, and in Jiva Daya. So this is the song that we sung, and the meaning for this song is giving up all sinful activities, carry on your worldly duties only in relation to Lord Krishna. The showing of compassion to other souls by loudly chanting the holy name of Krishna is the essence of all forms of religion. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us a very potent, a very direct way of increasing our taste for the holy name. And that is by loudly chanting it, by chanting it not just for our benefit, but for the benefit of all the living beings in this world. And when we do that, then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very pleased. We get immediate taste. We get the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then he comments on this. So this is the translation of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's song. He writes a purport to his own song in that he writes on this verse. So the first point is giving up sinful activities. So a very significant point here, that he says theft, speaking lies, cheating, hostility, lust, inflicting bodily harm, duplicitous politics, and so forth. Abandoning all these, spend your life in Krishna's world. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is such an amazing writer. Right? He says, give up all these, spend your life in Krishna's world. The ultimate statement is this: showing mercy to all living beings, living a pure lifestyle, just chant the holy name of Krishna. Truly, in a few days, your Sarupa will awaken and will remain floating in the ocean of eternally sweet Krishna Prema. So he says this in the purport in this song, and also in other books like Harinam Chintamani. He says, in a few days, you'll get the result. It's been 30 years. He says in a few days. And I'll mention it here because we probably won't get to it anyway. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he so nicely describes in this verse is so amazing that that if we give up sinful activities, and then he further clarifies, if we give up the offenses to the holy name, right, the 10 offenses against the holy name, if we pay that price, right, that's the price we need to pay. If we can do that, and we can show compassion to other souls, then in a few days we get love for Krishna. That's all we need to do. All we need to do is just give up sinful activities, theft, speaking lies, cheating, hostility, lust, all these things. Don't make offenses to the holy name, the 10 offenses, and then share this holy name with others, and in a few days we'll see our Swarupa. But the catch is that in order to observe all the 10 offenses. When we think of offenses, we just think about the first one. Okay, don't offend devotees. But there's 10 offenses. The third one is don't disobey the orders of the spiritual master, right? Which means basically following everything the spiritual master says. So the catch is that if you're following all the 10 offenses, you're a pure devotee. If you avoid the 10 offenses, you're a pure devotee. So he's saying if you're a pure devotee, then in a few days after chanting, you'll get the taste for Krishna's holy name. So it's not easy to do that. That's the point. But if we can do that, then we can get it. And the wonderful thing about reading these things and reading his books is that one gets agreed that, okay, if this is what I need to do, then this is what I need to do. One gets agreed that, okay, if I can avoid performing sinful activities, if I can avoid making offenses, then I can get the taste for the holy name. So let me avoid the 10 offenses against the holy name. So one time I was in Vancouver and I was traveling with His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, and I would do this in the summer when he would visit the United States. And so one morning there was another devotee helping him with his deity worship that he would do every morning. So Maharaj told me that you can go to the temple and attend the morning program. So I went to the temple to attend the morning program, and after giving water to Tulsi Devi, I came back to Maharaj's room. I attended Mangala Arati, everything, gave water to Tulsi, and then right after that came back. And when I came back, he said, "Oh, you came back so quickly." I said, "Yes, I finished Tulsi Puja, I gave water to Tulsi, and I'm back." He said, "Did you recite the 10 offenses against the holy name?" I said, "No, that part goes on. That's kind of the part, we kind of ramble through it as quickly as we can so we can get through the chanting." And I said, "No, I didn't do that." He said, "That's also part of the morning program." So that's part of the morning. You must do that. So Prabhupada, everything he put so conscientiously, and the recitation of those 10 offenses daily is there because that's what's stopping us, right? That's what's stopping us from getting Krishna's mercy. The chanting, the taste for the name. If we remove that, then in a few days we can get not only taste for the name, but our Swarupa will awaken. We will realize our spiritual identity. So here he's saying that the focus again is what our theme is, showing mercy to all living beings. So why is that so important? Why does Bhaktivinoda Thakur mention this first? In every list that he gives, he always says Jeev Doya. In the song he says Jeev Doya Krishna Nam. In this article he lists the 3 things, but he says Jeev Doya. Why is Jeev Doya so important? I mean, the holy name is everything. Because of this reason. It's not that compassion is more important than the holy name in one way, right? But why? Because 2 points we can make about giving in general. That a life of giving means when you give things, you lead a life in abundance. People who are giving things, sharing things with their friends, donating to the temple, giving Lakshmi that they earn to others for good purpose. They're always wealthy, healthy, wealthy, and wise, right? So a life of giving is always in abundance. So when you give, you always get more, right? When we give the best things we have them forever. When we give the best things we have them forever. So why is he mentioning Jeev Doya first? If we think about this, then why is he mentioning that first? We realize the importance of what we have. You're absolutely right. Because when we give it, that's actually when we get it. So if we want the holy name, if we actually want the jewel of the holy name, right? The jewels of the holy name, then when we give, whatever we give, that's what we actually get. When we teach something, that's when we actually learn. Right? Like this presentation, I spent 2 weeks preparing this. So the person who benefited the most was me, right? Because of this, I had to read and this and that and think about what. So when we teach something, then we learn it well. In the same way, getting the holy name or receiving the holy name means giving the holy name. This is what Harinam Sankirtan is. When we give Krishna, then we get Krishna. And this is why it's non-different. You say, why are they mentioning Jeev Doya and Krishna Nam? Why not just Krishna Nam? Because giving Krishna Nam is getting Krishna Nam. And that is what Mahaprabhu's teaching is. That is what his mission is. And that's his legacy. Like this whole tradition, this whole movement is a giving movement. It's not a taking movement. You go to India and there's some Vaishnava sampradayas, like there's a Madhva sampradaya, and they don't believe in any form of proselytization, preaching. You think, oh, it's so good. These people are like real peaceful folks. But if you go to the Matha and you want to join, this is actually a tradition. It's studied. It's there. Then you can't join their ashram because it's in their tradition that if you're meant to join their ashram, then they say, then you'll be born in our community. God will arrange that you'll be born in this community. So you have to be born in their sampradaya in order to be a member of their sampradaya. It's their philosophy. And we find, not just in that sampradaya, but so many others, that sometimes there isn't an emphasis in giving. It's more about personal practice, self-realization. Advaita philosophy is a little bit like that. Become knowledgeable yourself, become Brahman realized, and gain moksha. In Buddhism, gain nirvana. The focus is on personal enlightenment. Yes, there's an aspect of preaching, but not in all traditions is that focus there. Jesus Christ is an example of a great Vaishnava who practiced Jiva Doya. And that's why in Christianity we find this mood, sometimes a bit too enthusiastic, right? Of sharing the word with others. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also had that same zeal, but not by the sword, only by the holy name of Krishna. So the essence of our movement is a giving movement because that's how we get it ourselves. When we give Krishna, we get Krishna. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had 2 instructions: chant Hare Krishna and teach others about Krishna. What was Lord Chaitanya's first instruction? This side here can say, what was it? Yes, I have a rule actually in my classes, college classes, that no technology during class. I'm the only one allowed to use this. What's the first one? Loudly, I can't hear it. Chant Hare Krishna. What's the second one? Teach others about Krishna. So chant Hare Krishna, teach others about Krishna. It's very interesting. I showed you this image right in the beginning, that Lord Chaitanya repeated this so many times. When he meets Vasudev Vipra, he's a leper. He's on the street. He's suffering. He's, healing lepers. It's amazing. It's like a universal miracle in all the different traditions. You've studied Christianity, you know that, right? That you become a saint when you can heal a leper. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is doing the same so many times. Vasudev Vipra is a leper. And he's, going around, leprosy, your fingers fall off or your nose falls off, all these things. And no one wants to be near him. He looks ugly. He smells because your body rots. And this leper hears that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has visited his town. I forget the name of the town. Someone may remember. Lord Chaitanya is traveling. And so he can hardly walk. No, this is the Vasudeva Vipra. Yeah. But but the name of the place is Kurma? Sri Kurma. Okay. That's the name of the town where they're at. So Lord Chaitanya has arrived there. He hears this. And so he's rushing to the spot where Lord Chaitanya is. And he's waddling along, right? He's just like somehow trying to make it. He's crawling to the location where Lord Chaitanya is. And when he reaches there, what happens? He's informed that Lord Chaitanya has already left. And so Vasudeva Vipra, he collapses. He falls to the ground and he starts to weep. And he weeps and he cries. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a soul within all souls, right? He's a super soul. He knows that his devotee is lamenting there. And so he comes back to that location. And then he embraces Vasudeva Vipra. And when he embraces him, then his leper body becomes golden and effulgent. And he gets his beautiful form. And he's glowing, he's so beautiful. And Vasudeva Vipra is an unalloyed devotee of Krishna. It's described that his whole body was filled with worms. And these worms were feeding on his body, but he had Jeev Doya to such a degree that when these worms would fall off of his body, he would take the worm and put it back on his body. He's thinking, the body can be used by another living entity. How wonderful, right? It's interesting, in our modern, in our movement, we find devotees of this caliber, right? Who have given their body in the Lord's service. They have no sense of my body, my space, any sense of privacy. They're like Vasudeva Vipra. Their mind is, my body is for others. It's not mine. And so he's putting these back before Lord Chaitanya comes. So he gets this beautiful effulgent form. And when he gets it, then, we would be like jumping up and down. But he's very sad. He tells Lord Chaitanya that now I didn't come here so you would cure my leprosy. He wasn't going to Lord Chaitanya begging for a cure, which is what you would obviously think that that's why he's going. No, he was going there just to see Lord Chaitanya. And when he gets this beautiful body, then he tells Lord Chaitanya that now that I have this beautiful form, I'm so good looking, right? And I have the golden effulgence coming from my body. Everything that we all want, right? When I walk, people should Lord Chaitanya preached, influenced others by his beauty. So we also feel, if I really look like a nice devotee, then others might be inspired. But he says that now that I have this nice form, I'll become proud. I'll become arrogant because I'll think that I'm a great Vaishnava. I'm glowing, I'm effulgent, I have that halo behind me. And so, what can I do so I don't become proud? And so Lord Chaitanya tells him two things. What are those two things? Chant Hare Krishna, teach others about Krishna. He says, just do these two things. If you continuously chant about Krishna, and if you teach others about Krishna, you will never become arrogant. You will never become proud. Don't worry, you'll never fall. Then he meets the Kurma Brahman in the same location. The Kurma Brahman is a householder. He has a family. He has a nice family. And Lord Chaitanya, he invites Lord Chaitanya to his home for prasad. He really treats Lord Chaitanya with love and respect. Lord Chaitanya becomes very happy. When Lord Chaitanya leaves, then the Kurma Brahman tells him that, please take me along with you. This material life is so troublesome. It's so, he uses a word like it's piercing, it's biting, and I can't handle it anymore, so please take me with you. And Lord Chaitanya says, don't speak like this anymore. You stay where you're at. You stay with your family. You stay at home. But do two things. What's the first thing? Chant Hare Krishna and teach others about Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya, on multiple occasions, he said these two things. And this is why Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his song, when he says, Jeev Doya Krishna Nam Sarva Dharmasar, he's not making it up. This was Lord Chaitanya's teaching. And why was this there? Because when we teach it to others, then we actually receive it. So obviously, we need to have it first to give it to others. So we need to learn it ourselves, practice it ourselves, before we can give it to others. But when we give it to others, that's when we really get it ourselves. So our focus should be, how can I give it more and more? This preaching service, it's not something artificial, an imposition that Prabhupada has given us, something for less advanced devotees, or something that, is because we can't chant all the time, therefore he asks us to preach, but the real thing is the chanting, the bhajan. No, the real thing is giving it to others, and then we get it ourselves, deeply inside. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu broke open the marketplace of the holy name. So this is part of that bhajan that we read. They broke open the marketplace of the holy name. So it was closed up, it was locked, the doors were locked, they broke it up. And we have to make it so attractive that people want to take it in their lives. So we all, about half of Indians in this world are businessmen. Right? We love business, especially coming from India, so many businessmen. So we all know if you have a product, if you want to sell it, you have to make it very attractive. Right? You have to, the more you show, the more you sell. There's so many things like this. So any product that we sell has to be very attractive. So by our own life, our example, by our places of worship, by our exchanges, we have to make the holy name and Krishna's name so attractive that everyone wants to take it up. Then there'll be a good sale in the marketplace of the holy name. And that's the sum and substance. So this was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order, and after that it was lost. His mission went underground. So many other Apasampradayas came. Then the marketplace was closed again, or it was shut down. Then in 1981, Bhaktivinoda Thakur reopened that marketplace of the holy name. And 1981. Oh, 1880. Oh yeah, sorry. Sorry. So he gave, at that time he had a prayer and a prediction. What was his prayer? This is meant to be interactive. Yes. Sandhya Mataji, she is a PhD. She always gets the right answer perfect. She's mentioning that his prayer was that he wanted a ray of Vishnu. He wanted someone who would come and distribute this all over the land, all over the world. And that was who? His son, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And there was a prediction that he gave. What was his prediction? That very soon, someone would come and take this to every town and village of the world. Right? So after him came Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, and not much is known about his life, but what we know is that he chanted 200,000 names of Krishna daily. He chanted 128 rounds every day. So that's this. Yeah. He was a Nitya Siddha Vaishnava, like they all were, but different devotees have different natures and different relationships with Krishna. He felt painful separation from Radha Govinda, and he cried profusely and would loudly chant the holy names in lamentation. So sometimes we see that devotees don't engage in, you could say, the sharing of the holy name. And you think, well, why not? Because it's not that they don't have that jiva doya, it's that they are so deeply in separation from Krishna, at times they're unable to do it. And this is very much recorded in his life, that so much of his life he was lamenting in separation from Radha Govinda. But there are times in his life when he would meet hundreds of guests each day. So, that's not ordinary service, to meet individually hundreds of guests, like all day, a stream of guests. And he would in fact get so many visitors. This is why at times he would just get exhausted with them, so then he would go into a bathroom and chant, because no one disturbs you in the bathroom. When you need your own time, your thinking room, you go in the bathroom and you close the door and you lock it, right? So if he's in there, then no one can disturb him. So the idea is not that he was intentionally wanting to chant in the bathroom, or was in the bathroom all the time. When he wanted peace from all the streams of guests that would come, he would go and he would just chant, because he was so absorbed, the atmosphere didn't matter to him. the external atmosphere. So that was who he was, a great Vaishnava of the highest caliber. And his disciple was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And when he comes, then this marketplace of the holy name swells again. So it had, it was all over the place when Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakura were distributing it, Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivas Pandit, and then it goes underground, and then it really comes back again strong and alive with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. All over India, Burma, England, he establishes more than 64 temples and reestablishes the real principles of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with the help of his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And then finally, we have Srila Prabhupada, who fulfilled the prediction of both Lord Chaitanya and Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Prithivite ache yata nagaradi gram sarvatra prachara hoibe moranam. In every town and village, the chanting of my name will be heard, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had said. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 25 to 65, he says, following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we are trying to broadcast his message throughout the world. By his mercy, people are taking this movement very seriously. Indeed, our books are extensively distributed in the Western countries. So in every town and village, and it's a fact, wherever you go now, you can find a devotee. I once went, like this is 15, 20 years ago. Of course, now there's so many more, but I went to Madison, Wisconsin, which is basically a university town. And I was there for a course, and I asked devotees who lived nearby, are there any devotees who live in Madison, Wisconsin? They said there were some, but they moved. There's no devotees there now. I searched the gatherings online, no devotees there. So everyone told me there's no devotees there. But once I got there, just by coincidence on the campus, I met this devotee. And he was living there and holding programs in his home. And he was just this really sweet devotee who was there in Madison, Wisconsin. So every place we'll find somewhere Lord Chaitanya's mission is there because he predicted it. So what is his order? What was the order that he gave? He says, Lord Chaitanya says, Atayeva yami agya dilun sabha kare yahan tahan prema phala deha yare tale. Therefore, I order every man, and man means also woman, within this universe to accept this Krishna consciousness movement and distribute it everywhere. So this is the verse here. And Srila Prabhupada translates this like this, and in brackets I put prema phala there. So the verse says, Yahan tan prema phala deha yare tare. So Lord Chaitanya is saying that give this fruit of love, prema phala, literally means the fruit of love. It's a love fruit. Give it to every person. Give it everywhere. Every person must do this. And Srila Prabhupada translates prema phala. This is his translation, Prabhupada's style of translating, as the Krishna consciousness movement. So Lord says, give this prema phala, this fruit of love, everywhere. He says, this Krishna consciousness movement. So what does that mean? What is the Krishna consciousness movement? It's prema phala, it's the fruit of love. This is what Prabhupada thought the Krishna consciousness movement to me. It's one big juicy fruit of love. So in the purport to the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada writes, the direct order of the Lord, which is right here, I order, he says this is his order. The direct order of the Lord is a manifestation of his internal energy. So when we get a direct order from the Lord, which often comes through the spiritual master, it's a manifestation of Krishna's internal energy. Then he continues, this is the same sentence, again, my quotations aren't correct here, should be really one. This particular energy is the means of seeing the Lord face to face. So the direct order is a manifestation of Krishna's internal energy, because it's coming from Krishna, is directly Krishna. And fulfilling that order means seeing the Lord face to face. So Prabhupada makes this point in so many different places that the order of the Lord is our most valuable asset. And fulfilling that order is the most important business. In another purport in Madhya Leela 7.128, Prabhupada makes various points. He says, preaching is more important than staying in Vrindavan or Jagannath Puri. The devotees of Lord Chaitanya must preach in every village and town in the world. This order comes through the parampara system. So he makes the point that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave this, and now he's giving it to us. So Lord Chaitanya gave this, it came to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, then Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, Bhakti Siddhanta. Then Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur told Prabhupada, go to the West. It went to him, and now it's coming to us. It is the duty of every disciple to carry out the order. So, this is the order. I'm going to skip a few slides just in the interest of time. So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Chaitanya Charitamrita describes that he manifests in the form of the desire tree of devotional service. So there's this massive tree that he's made. And this tree is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Who's the gardener? Who's the gardener? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And who's giving it out? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the tree is him, the gardener is him, and the giver of the fruits of this tree is also him. And this tree of devotional service, it's a banyan tree. It's one of those trees that keeps growing and spreading. And so it needs to spread all over the world. But how does it spread? He says, I am only one person. He's the trunk of this tree. All the different branches are his devotees. So one branch is Advaitacharya. Another branch is Nityananda Prabhu. And there's 91 different branches mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita of different amazing devotees. Like there's one branch that's Vakreshwar Pandit. He's the fifth branch. And Vakreshwar Pandit was the intimate associate of Lord Chaitanya, and his quality was that he could dance continuously for 72 hours. For 72 hours straight, he would just dance. So we can dance for maybe 72 seconds, but he could do it for 72 hours straight. That's who he was. Similarly, there's another branch of Garuda Pandit. And he was a devotee of Lord Chaitanya who's described that the Chaitanya Charitamrita exactly says this, that his absorption in the name was so strong that even the effects of poison wouldn't affect him. No wonder his name was Garuda, because Garuda can eat snakes and it doesn't affect him. So even the effects of poison wouldn't affect him. So another branch was Raghunath Das Goswami, who would offer 1,000 obeisances to the Lord every day and 2,000 obeisances to the devotees every day, and chant 22 hours a day, or serve Krishna 22 hours a day. So these were all great personalities who formed the different branches. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that this is the desired tree of devotional service. He is the tree, the gardener, and the bestower of those fruits. Again, I'll skip. And then he says, Ataye vayami agya dilun sabakore yahan tahan prema phala dehayare tare. I am the only gardener. How many places can I go? How many fruits can I pick and distribute? Prabhupada writes in the purport, here Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu indicates that all classes of devotees should combine to distribute the Hare Krishna Mahamantra without consideration of time, place, or situation. Normally we are told that we should consider time, place, and circumstance. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells us that no consideration of time, place, and circumstance. Wherever you are, whoever you meet, it is my order, tell them about Krishna. Share this with others. The residents of Kulina Gram, they ask Lord Chaitanya, who is a Vaishnava? The first time they ask Lord Chaitanya, who is a Vaishnava? Lord Chaitanya responds, a Vaishnava is someone who takes the holy name just once. The second time they ask Lord Chaitanya responds that a Vaishnava is someone who is incessantly chanting Krishna's holy names. The third time they ask him, the third year when he comes, they say, who is a Vaishnava? Lord Chaitanya says, a Vaishnava is one who chants incessantly, and also just by seeing this Vaishnava, others become inspired to chant. So like this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told us the different types Vaishnavas. The first one is the neophyte devotee. Even once if they chant, they're a devotee. The second one is a devotee who's chanting incessantly, a madhyamadikari devotee. This is one definition. And the third one is not only one who chants, but who, when people see him, they become inspired to chant. That's the uttamadikari devotee. And this is when the holy name is within that person's heart, they can make this miracle happen. We see so many of our devotees, our movement can make this miracle happen, that just by their association, people start chanting. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the Lord accepts a preacher as a most dear servant. Anyone who is preaching the confidential message of Gita to the people in general is so dear to Krishna that no one can equal with him in human society. So, just as an interesting side note, why is this important? Because this is actually the test of a process. Here, all of a sudden, we have Charles Darwin. I don't mean to agitate the mood, but Charles Darwin, people think that he became an atheist because of his evolutionary theory, right? Because of evolution and the theory of evolution, he became an atheist. He is known as the inventor of that theory. But if you read his biography, the reason why Charles Darwin became an atheist is because he couldn't find the solution to suffering. Right? He was experiencing a lot of suffering in his life. He was suffering personally from a very serious stomach problem, due to which he all had intense pain in his stomach. The time that he lived, medical science, modern medicine was not so advanced. So people, if they had some issue, they generally lived with it for much of their life. And also, when his daughter was like 6 years old, his daughter died. And he could never figure that out. So he could never find a solution to an answer to suffering. He was actually born in the family of a very religious family. So he was born as a religious boy. He wasn't born as Charles Darwin. As it is often the case with these, he was, going to church. So he had some faith in God, but he could not find a solution to his suffering. So then when he becomes a young man, then he takes service in the British Navy. And he has the job of being an observer. He gets paid to observe things, a professional observer. So he goes on the ship and they travel all around South America. They go down. And when he goes to South America, then he comes to this place where he finds nomadic people. Some, very isolated place. And when he goes there, then he finds that the locals there, the native people there, he says, were savage in nature. They had no good culture or qualities. And during the winters, when it was snowing and there's no food, then these savage people, they were cannibals, and they would cut up and eat their wives. And he said they would not cut up and eat their dogs, because the dogs were at least useful, but the wives were not. So very gruesome thing. Now, he therefore concludes that actually this world is simply a blind struggle for existence. And that's why his famous phrase, the struggle for existence. And who survives? He says, the survival of the fittest. And that's why his second major thing, the survival of the fittest. That this world is simply suffering. There's no solution to it. Only the fittest survive. Now, Charles Darwin's accounts are questionable because other people went to those same areas and they didn't find these savage beasts that he talks about. They found like friendly, nice people there. So we have to question whether or not his account was correct or not. But the point being that the test of a tradition, right? The test of a process, the proof is in the pudding. The test of a process is measured by how much it can alleviate people's suffering. Charles Darwin did not find that his faith, he believed, of course it wasn't the correct thing, but he believed that it didn't alleviate his suffering. So therefore he lost his conviction or faith in it. But but if his experience was different, that no, this is giving me a higher taste, this is alleviating my suffering, this is alleviating others' suffering, then maybe he wouldn't have been Charles Darwin today, and he wouldn't have had his theory of evolution. So Vaishnava, why again that focus? Because they show the power in the process by being able to alleviate other suffering. So attempting to fulfill the Lord's order is the effort, because the devotee is paradukha dukhi. So now, in the interest of time, I'm going to skip here quite a few things and go here to, because we're really short of time. So Prabhupada here, he writes two things. In the same day, he wrote 2 letters. He said, the main thing is that you must set the nice example for others by following very rigidly the regulated principles, such as chanting the 16 rounds on the beads, reading the books, getting up to attend Mangalarti, etc. In this way, everyone shall be encouraged. Srila Prabhupada says, he says, this is the main thing, that we must practice ourselves the holy name of Krishna. On that same day, he wrote to another disciple, it is so very nice to hear how the book distribution is going on. This is our main business, distributing these books all over the world, and thus turning the minds of the fallen souls towards Krishna. So how Prabhupada said both things are the main thing, because they're both essentially one and the same thing. And Sanatana Goswami, our personal practice and our giving others, they're intrinsically connected. We cannot share it if we're not practicing it ourselves, if we're not chanting nicely ourselves, if we're not doing the process ourselves, and if we're doing it nicely ourselves, then that means we're also giving it to others. So Sanatana Goswami, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he praises Haridas Thakura. So Haridas Thakura is known as the Namacharya, right? He's kind of the hallmark of those who are absorbed in the holy name. And the quality that he appreciates most about Haridas Thakura is that he does both. Apane achare keha nakare prachara prachara kore na keha nakare na achara achara prachara namer karha duikarya Tumi sarva guru tumi jagatera arya. Some behave very well but do not preach the cult of Krishna consciousness, whereas others preach but do not behave properly. You simultaneously perform both duties in relation to the holy name by your personal behavior and by your preaching. Therefore, you are the spiritual master of the entire world, for you are the most advanced devotee in the world. So, and Namacharya, right? He is the Acharya, he is the example, because he exemplified both things. And someone will say, well, when was he preaching? He was chanting 300,000 names of Krishna a day, so how could he physically find the time to preach? But we see in 2 or 3 pastimes that Haridas Thakura, when the prostitute comes to try to entice him, he knows that the prostitute is coming before she even comes, and the best thing for him is to leave the place before she comes to try to entice him. But he says, no, I waited here just for you. He says, I stayed here. I knew Ramachandra Khan is sending you to sully my name, and the best thing would be just to be out of sight, There's always a chance something could be sullied if you have a prostitute around you. But he said, but no, I stayed here just for you. And for 3 days he stays there when she listens, and then she becomes a devotee, a pure devotee of the Lord, just by listening to his chanting. And then she begs for forgiveness, she starts to cry, and he says, yes, just to change your heart, just to liberate you, I stayed here. So his quality of Jiva Doya was there. And this is the quality of paradukha dukhi. I want only to stay among all the living entities and suffer all the distresses on their behalf, so that they may be freed from suffering. Vasudev Datta. So this is actually a verse from the Bhagavatam. This was spoken by King Rantidev. I want to stay here and suffer all their distresses. And Prabhupada writes in the purport that Vasudev Datta was the most dear to the Lord because of this quality. This is the purport. I am only Vasudev Datta's man, Lord Chaitanya says. My body is only meant to please Vasudev Datta, and he can sell me anywhere. Thrice, Lord Chaitanya vowed that this was a fact and that no one should disbelieve these statements. I tell you the truth, my body is especially meant for Vasudev Datta. So, Lord Chaitanya was so pleased with Vasudev Datta, who said the same thing, that I want to stay here and suffer the distresses of all the living entities, and my Lord, you free them, I will stay back. He says that therefore Vasudev Datta can sell me anywhere. So this is the devotee, this is the quality of a devotee. This is why the devotee can give Krishna to anyone. It's like they can literally, it's in their pocket, they can give Krishna to anyone because they are embodying this same mood. And they have this same mood, therefore it's in their power to do so. So many of us, including myself, this is my deep realization, may be very concerned that our chanting is not getting pure. And so what to do? Will we go back to Godhead or not? How do we get there? What do we do? Will we ever reach Krishna or not? So for our assurance, Prabhupada said, this is a nice exchange. One devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, and this applies to any form of Sankirtan, but this quote particularly talks about book distribution, but it's an inspiration to any form of this mercy movement. Prabhupada says, if we die on Sankirtan, we will go back home, back to Godhead. One devotee asked, Prabhupada, if we die on Sankirtan, will we go back home, back to Godhead? Prabhupada said, whatever state of mind one is in at the time of death, that state you will attain. If you think of Krishna and you die on Sankirtan, you go back to Godhead. If you don't think of him, then maybe not. Prabhupada is giving Krishna's response. Everyone in the room sighed. Oh, no hope for us. Then Srila Prabhupada said, but I promise you this, if you distribute my books until your dying day, Lord Chaitanya will personally come and take you back home, back to Godhead. So we see that Haridas Thakura, his life, that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally came and lifted his body, took him back home, back to Godhead. So he is the living proof, he's the example that anyone who is doing this, what Lord Chaitanya is so pleased by, right? Taking the holy name, teaching others about the holy name, was carried by the Lord himself, and they have less to worry. So finally, the religious practice for the age of Kali is to broadcast the glories of the holy name. Only for this purpose has the Lord in a yellow color descended as Lord Chaitanya. And what's the price we must pay? In the Harinam Chintamani, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he tells us, let's see, this is so beautiful. This book is like so amazing. It's so heart-opening, very highly recommended. He says, this is quoting from the book, he chants a prescribed number of holy names on tulsi beads, or he does kirtan with great love and respect. He begins by chanting one grantha, 4 rounds of holy names. Gradually he comes to chant 300,000 holy names, right? Obviously, right? We go from 16 to 32 to 64. Most of you are probably doing 128, and then we come to 192. So he's saying gradually he comes to 300,000 names. Then all the desires of his heart become fulfilled. One should chant the holy name a fixed number of times. Then the holy name blissfully dances on all one's senses. The 9 processes of devotional service take shelter of the holy name. Still, chanting and remembering the holy name is the best of them all. So, there's one very nice short story that one time Srila Prabhupada was in Vrindavan. These was his final days. He was very ill. And these were, final conversations with his disciples. So His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj was there. And he was Srila Prabhupada's scientific preacher, right? He was a PhD in biology, and he would come and tell Prabhupada what the scientists are saying. Prabhupada would respond. So he came to Prabhupada, and he had done a big conference with all the different scientists. And Srila Prabhupada was very pleased. So Prabhupada asked him, while he's so ill, he could hardly speak, he was lying down, and he asked Bhakti Swarup Damodar, so what were their arguments? What were the scientists' arguments? What were they saying? And Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj starts to tell the arguments that they were saying about this. And Prabhupada said, what did you respond? And he said, this is what I responded. And Srila Prabhupada is really into this conversation. And at that time, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, who was Prabhupada's taking care of him, his servant, he started to become concerned that this is becoming too exhausting for Srila Prabhupada. It's like, talking is exhausting. And he was in such fragile condition. So he interjected and he said, Prabhupada, perhaps it's time for some kirtan. We can just do some kirtan. And Prabhupada stopped him and he said, this is also kirtan. Why you are saying to do kirtan? This is also kirtan. So Daivi Shakti Mataji, who tells this story about Prabhupada, she says, her title of her talk is that all devotional service, all forms of devotional service are kirtan. If they're meant to serve the kirtan mission, then they're kirtan. And Prabhupada thought that, how am I going to distribute this marketplace of the holy name, right? How am I going to take the holy name and get it in people's homes, and put it all around the world? Because, if it's a vibration, a sound vibration, people hear it and then they may not keep it, they forget it. And so all aspects of his movement were means of packaging the holy name and marketing it. Right? This is a very American concept. The same thing, but in a different package. And when there's a shortage in sales of a product, they don't improve the product, they improve the packaging. Yeah, you make the packaging better. So that's the same idea. You have to package it in different ways. And one way, very effective way of packaging it was in the form of his books. And this is why book distribution, Prabhupada has 7 purposes of ISKCON, and the first 2 are about education, literature, the distribution of literature. And number 4 is kirtan, congregational chanting of the holy name. And I was wondering, why is this number 4? It could be number 1. Because that is kirtan, right? But he was thinking, how will that congregational chanting be done? Well, it will be done by the medium of education, places of education, books of education, so that people get the knowledge, they can keep it in, they can get the holy name in a form that they can keep it in their bookshelf. They can keep it somewhere and refer back to it. And they can get convinced to chant. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying the same thing here. All 9 processes of devotional service take shelter of the holy name. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in this same book, he says, if one does deity worship very nicely, he gets the results of chanting the holy name. Because deity worship involves chanting the mantras. It's absorption in the Lord. Archana, 9 processes, right? But still, chanting and remembering the holy name has to be the core of it, right? Maharaj shared that verse this morning, that our japa is the food for the person on the spiritual path. So the actual japa is the food. So you need the food in order to do anything else. And so final slide, this is truly the final slide. He says, full faith that Lord Krishna is not different from his holy name. Shunning the 10 offenses and residing in a secluded place, the chanter of the holy name will find that after very few days, Lord Krishna will become merciful and appear in his handsome dark form before him. Again, very few days. So most of this book is about the 10 offenses. And you think, this is not really about the holy name. The whole book is about 10 offenses. Because what he's saying is just avoid these 10 offenses. And in a very few days, you will see the Lord. When by his practice sadhana, one sees that the Lord's name and form are identical, then at every moment the Lord's form is visible in his name in one's heart. After some days, Lord Krishna's transcendental qualities are visible in his form. Then by meditating on Lord Krishna's name, one sees his qualities. Okay, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki. So we have about 10 minutes for comments, reflections, questions. Okay, very nice. So I first saw Akhandanam Prabhu's hand go up. Maybe Akhandanam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the class. I had two questions.
Yes.
One was about, so you spoke about the importance of giving the holy name, outreach.
Yes.
And I see that wonderfully happening here. I see that in ISV when we were staying there. Practical question for me is, how do we balance between the idea of in-reach, cultivating our soul, versus outreach? If we're doing outreach, it might come at the cost of sadhana or family time or whatever.
Yes.
So I just wanted your perspective on that.
Yes. So actually, that's what was a small revelation for myself also in reading Bhaktivinoda Thakur's works, that he identifies both of those things, right? He says Jeev Doya and Vaishnav Seva as two separate things. And he clarifies that, okay, Jeev Doya, by this, I mean outreach, like you're saying. And by Vaishnav Seva, I mean in-reach. So often, rightfully so, we feel that, well, cultivating, improving our spiritual life and other devotees' spiritual life is the right thing to do, and that is the right thing to do. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur is telling us that we must do that, but also do this, do the jiva. So the way I read it, he's saying whatever time we have, share that time between both of those things. So we must take care of our devotees, we must take care of our own spiritual life, we must take care of our family, we must take care of our services. But in doing that, we also have to take time out for Harinam Sankirtan, going out, and it's different for different people. And I think that's where the spiritual master comes in. That's where Srila Prabhupada's words come in, that we have to read them and imbibe ourselves that, this is what Prabhupada wanted. How much did he want it? How much can I invest myself based on my stage in life also? Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Second question I had was, we hear that in this age of Kali, japa or chanting is the supreme process. Even versus the other processes, such as kirtan, for example. And I know you just spoke about
yes,
this aspect of kirtan is also important.
Yes,
but just thinking from a youth perspective,
yes,
kirtan attracts them easily. Myself, as we were growing up.
Yes.
But is there like a sort of like a simple way of explaining, but why is japa just a necessity?
So japa is not the most, what's the word that you had used? It was, kirtan is the most what? The most, it's the most, you use a specific word, the most important, or something like that you said?
I was thinking that, we hear that japa is the most superior process.
Yes.
Out of versus all
that's the thing. So japa is not Lord Chaitanya's, you could say somehow, it's not the, Sankirtan, right? But japa is the most essential process. Meaning that it's the most important one. Krishna says, Yagyanam japa yagyosmi. Why? Because it's the food for all the other processes. Even for kirtan, you think, well, kirtan is also the holy name. Even for doing kirtan in the temple, chanting, dancing, japa is food for that. Because Krishna says so, not because we said, Yagyanam japa yagyosmi. Among all sacrifices, I am japa. What he's saying is that all the other sacrifices that we will do will inhere on our japa. And so that's why japa is the most important. Now, I'm kind of, not trying to, I don't have any, you could say, agenda in sharing this quote. But just to show the diversity of Prabhupada's statements, Prabhupada says, so I'm always emphasizing book distribution. It is the better kirtan. It is better than chanting. Of course, chanting should not stop, but book distribution is the best kirtan. So yes, kirtan is Lord Chaitanya's mission, but Prabhupada is telling us what is kirtan. He has sometimes another form of kirtan is as much kirtan or even more kirtan than the obvious form of kirtan. Thank you. Next question. Rahel, yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
So this is not question, this is confusion.
Okay.
The confusion is every day in 10 offenses, 9 offenses we read, don't instruct the faithless person about the holy name,
Yes.
right? And in Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says, don't instruct this conversation to the faithless person.
Yes.
So this instruction from the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, chant and distribute chanting.
Right.
So how the person can understand when you are approaching someone, is it faithless or not faithless?
It's such a nice question. It says Lord Chaitanya said, chant and teach others about chanting. And how, when we meet someone, can we know is that person a faithless person or not a faithless person? Because the ninth offense of the holy name is don't instruct the holy name to a faithless person. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the same book, Harinam Chintamani, he tells it very nicely. He says, we must give the holy name to everyone, including the faithless person. But we should not tell the glories of the holy name to everyone, especially the faithless person, because they will misuse it. So for example, we don't discuss the Rasa Leela with them. Because discussing the Rasa Leela is telling them about the glories of the holy name, Krishna's internal things. Similarly, we don't tell them this holy name is, Krishna's Hladini Shakti, or, like those things, because they will misuse it. But we have to give it to everyone. And that is the devotee, yes.
I've heard devotees say the first 25 years of life is all about education, no contribution whatsoever. Maybe you could speak on that.
Nice. Very interesting. So this doesn't apply to the first 25 years. That's the question. That's the challenge. It is primarily, it's true that it's primarily one of learning, right? Of gaining, of soaking in, of learning spiritual life. But one of the key principles with that same definition, which everyone will agree, is that in that age, one of the key services of the student is to assist, help the guru, the teacher. So not just up to the age of 25, for most of us, engaging in this preaching movement means helping those who are engaged in the preaching movement. So yes, it's not our role because we ourselves are not developed enough to preach Krishna consciousness. We cannot do it. So you actually bring up a very good point. What does it mean for us? For us, it means helping those who are doing it. Right? We are not qualified to preach, but Prabhupada is. So therefore, we are giving Prabhupada's words to others. We're giving his books to others. We're not giving our books to others. So a student cannot be there, yes, but the student can help the spiritual master, and when they help the spiritual master, then they are sharing that knowledge. Yes. There's one question here, and then maybe the last one. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu, for a very beautiful class. On your point, on the point of giving Krishna or the holy name to others, is the best form is book distribution. And when we go on Sankirtan, there's sometimes reluctance in accepting or even rejection. So are we fulfilling our mission personally? We're making an attempt. Will that contribute to fulfilling our mission of giving Krishna?
Yes, of course. The main thing is the attempt. We have to make the effort. The result is in Krishna's hands. So Lord Chaitanya, Srila Prabhupada are pleased by the effort. His instruction is we have to make the effort. But the result is in his hands. So we'll end here, and we'll talk afterwards more. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.